going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. Here, sitting across from me, the man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Seyboth. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I watch your stuff. You guys crank it, kill it out here. So excited to be on and kind of chop it up with you and talk to you and see what's going on.
Thank you. For those that don't know, I actually had like a full-fledged interview with this guy already. It got a little crazy, so he was like, "Oh, don't put that one out." So we're here, back, and hopefully we can keep the same craziness, but tone it down just a little bit. First and foremost, for those that don't know, where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Then moved to Pawtucket. Then moved to Seekonk. Then went through Seekonk Middle School and then went to St. Ray's.
Okay, and you hooped.
I hooped, man.
You hooped.
I was I won 3 state championships. 2099, 2000, 2001.
Wow.
Wow. Varsity 3 years, won all 3 years.
That's
not
crazy.
Because of me. I mean, we had back then. You're way younger than me, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So back then, like Saints was it.
Yeah.
Saints was it. It was us and St. Andrews.
Okay.
And then Tony and Ubi bounced, and then TJ was around, and Carlos, and then me and Vega were the last ones. And then we had Mike Williams. We had a squad. We had squads.
Yeah.
We literally would roll out 4 D1 guys starting.
Wow.
Those 3 years. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a good experience.
And, it took you to college as well.
Took me to college. I played ball in college. I played at the D3 level. I learned everything I needed to learn as far as transferable skills in those 8 years, in my opinion.
Okay. And when you say transferable skills, what do you mean by that?
Life skills, work ethic. I think one of the big takeaways for me was just grit and determination, right? I wasn't born the tallest, the fastest, the strongest. I probably weighed 110 pounds as a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And then got to college and played at the D3 level, like I said. But my first year, I probably played 2 minutes. And I ended up scoring over 1,200 points. So in 2.5 years, I scored. I matured, I grew, I got stronger, I got faster, I worked harder, and I think that's what I really took away was, you don't have to have the best ability or the best talent. It's how much work can you put in the right way, and that I just kind of carried it forward.
Yeah, the old saying is like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Facts, 100%.
And did you have an act for real estate in your college days, or were you on to like something else? Did you envision a career doing something else?
No, I had no clue about real estate. I was a born hustler. In college, we would do all these, like the team, we would go and do these events at Patriot, at whatever, Foxborough, right? And we would work to raise money for the team. So I knew it was going to be cold. So I would go out and buy all these sweatshirts and then sell them to the guys because I knew I could get them for this much and sell them. So I was always just trying to figure out how to build a business and make a buck and do that. And it just kind of carried forward. So it wasn't that I was interested in real estate. I think it was I love the idea of unlimited potential. And I love the idea of like working with people, helping people, just figuring out a way to build a business that at the end of the day, I didn't do the same thing every day. Mm-hmm. But I did not do that right out of college. I worked 10 years for corporate in Boston.
Oh, wow.
From 21 to 31, I would say I worked for 10 years for corporate. Mm-hmm. And I hated every day. I'm talking hated every second, every day, every minute. I could not wait to get out of there and go home. And I was worried the whole time, excuse me, I was worried the whole time that this was my life.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like this was it. Like I was never going to get out of that rat race, which is fine though. For some people, like that's cool. They're good with 9 to 5. They're good with having stability. They're good with having benefits. And like, that's how I was brought up. Like you go to work, you have benefits, you listen to your boss, and you go home. That's not it for me. Like that was not fulfilling at all. So I was like, there has to be something else. And honestly, thank God. I thank God every day that I found this because it was depressing. My first job out of college, I made $28,000. Took the train to Boston. By the time I paid for parking, by the time I paid for the train, by the time I paid for lunch, I probably made like $200 a week.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, that's crazy.
That's nothing.
And it wasn't about money. It was I made $200 a week and I was miserable.
Right.
Like absolutely miserable. And I just kept job hopping. So I was like, all right, let me do this. 6 months, let me go work here. Because Boston has a lot of opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, let me go here. I'm going to try accounting. I'm going to try finance. I went and got my MBA. I was like, maybe that's the answer. Let me get my MBA. Then I got my CFA. And I was like, this is just not the answer. Like, the more studying in school.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me, right? Because you seem to try to like dig deeper into something that you already knew wasn't your calling. So why was that? Was it because you felt that there was security in the higher degrees and things of that nature? Or what made you kind of have that duality of like, I know this doesn't feel good, but I'm gonna dig deeper into it?
I was lost, bro. I was honestly lost. I didn't have anyone I could be like, this doesn't make. So everyone in my support system at the time was like, you have to work for someone.
Yeah.
Like, this is what the path is. It's high school, college, work for someone, and just keep working up the ladder. And that's all I knew. So I'm like, the only way to get better is, I guess, get more education, right? Get more degrees, get more certifications, and then from there, move up the ladder. But I realized even if you moved up the ladder, if it's not fulfilling, it's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. You're just moving up. You're just deferring or kind of kicking the can down the road that you hate what you do every day. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is like, when you talk about success, some people say money and power and whatever. That's the ultimate form of failure, in my opinion, to dislike what you do every single day.
100%.
You are just living to die.
Yeah.
You're literally passing time. And I would ride the train and I would listen to music and I would just envision, I'm like, this is not it. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's not this. Yeah. This is the exact opposite. Yeah. And I would complain and I would, just complain all the time. I'm like, I got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think I would ever figure it out. Mm-hmm. So anybody listening or watching, if you're in that spot and you're lost, like, it's not it. If you don't feel it here and you know that it's not it, believe it and trust it. And I would say to any young person now, take chances early. I didn't take any chances. I took 0 chances early. Mm-hmm. So I was on that very safe path. And that very safe path is more detrimental to your mental health than it is to anything else. Yeah,
yeah. The safe path sometimes is often a sure way of failure, right? Because the average American, the average Rhode Islander, the average, whatever, is living in debt. They're overweight. They're not happy. So, like, you're thinking, hey, I just want to, like, be cool. I want to be average. But by doing that, you're actually going to end up in a place you really don't want to be at.
No, and think about the path that we watch. So we watch the people go to high school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, give up by 40. Mm-hmm. I'm in better shape at 42, and I feel better, and I have more energy now. I look younger now than I looked at 32. And it's because I'm, like, paying attention. I didn't give up. I got my second wind, right? I went through my 20s and 30s and was, like, kind of just a worker bee and fell into that path of, this is what it is. This is what you're going to do. Life is almost over. You have kids. You're miserable. No, that's not it. Yeah. We're still getting started, man. I'm getting started right. I'm just learning. Right. So, like, I look at it like age nowadays, we could live to 120. Yeah. I don't know, but I know I'm not going to quit at 42. Right. I know I'm not packing it into it. No offense to dad bod, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'm going to make sure I take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I don't drink. I'm taking care of myself. Right. And I think that has changed my life in the last 6 months to 12 months, really focusing not only on health physically, but also mental health. Mm-hmm. I meditate every day. I write down affirmations I used to think that shit was corny. And I don't know if I could swear or not, but
yep, you can swear.
I write down, I spend an hour and a half every morning with the same routine every day. And that has changed my whole life. Yeah. It changed my vision. It changed my attitude. It changed my where I see myself, and I believe it. And I think, thank God I found that, because otherwise, again, you feel lost in that space. Yeah. And now my mental space is totally on point. Right. Clarity, I would say, is the big thing. Clarity.
Yeah. And I do want to say a big pillar of that, though, is visualizing a better you and a better version of you, right? Because if I feel like my better years are behind me, then I don't care what I do to my body. Correct. I don't care what I fill my mind with, all right? But if I have, like, new heights that I want to reach in the future, it's like, no, I got to keep everything as prime as possible to achieve that future state.
200%. I mean, I look at it. I don't know if you know who Brad Lee is.
Yep, of course.
I'm on his podcast July 21st. I'm
Okay.
flying out to Vegas. I'm going to be on that. So for me, like, that's the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real opportunity for me to get myself out there on a national level. And I'm like, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
It's go time.
Right,
Like,
right.
You did warm-up lines. You did layups.
Yeah.
It's game time.
Yeah, yeah.
So to your point, like, if you envision that future, you got to stay in shape. You got to make sure that you're staying sharp on all facets. And then I've got 2 kids, 12 and 10. And I look at it like this. Some people argue, well, a good dad is someone who's just there in helicopter and always around and always doing whatever and always, yes. But I think a great dad is someone shown by example. Somebody that their kids, right now at 12 and 10, my kids have no clue. They're like, oh, you're going to work, you're doing this, and we don't want to go to work with you. It's boring. But at 22 and 20, they're going to be like, teach me.
Yes.
I want to understand, like, how did you do this? Like,
100%.
How can we do it? And one thing that I'll be able to do that my parents didn't or couldn't do is say, look, here's the path. Here's how we can figure out how to navigate through this together so you could be successful.
Right.
And my parents taught me hard work and all that sort of stuff, right? And dedication and whatnot. But they didn't want to teach that path of entrepreneurship because it was not as prevalent back then. In the early 2000s, it was go to college and get a job.
Right.
It's changed now. And if you don't change with it, you can't be a good role model.
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're in college, you're out of college, you're like, yo, this isn't it. What was your first, like, interest in real estate? How was that sparked? How did that come about?
So that was basically when I started to get to that age, I started to understand how the world worked, right? So coming up, you're going to hear people, oh, money's the root of all evil. Oh, you shouldn't worry about making money. Or, everyone I've been around that's made money and been successful has been able to have nicer things in life, right? And that was something to me that I valued at the time, but I didn't know how to get there. So there was a guy that my dad knew really well, and every time I would see him with him, he would be like, for whatever reason, he had to take money out of his pocket. He would have a wad. I'm talking a wad. And at 21, you're like, oh, there's like a lot of hundreds there and 20s and 5s. What does that guy do? And he would be like, that guy owns a lot of real estate. That's all his rent money. So then I was like, I don't understand. Explain that to me. And then that was when it clicked. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to figure out how to be like that guy. And I don't know what that guy did or how he got to that point. But whatever he did, I need to figure out how to get there.
That's interesting. So it was at first, it was less about real estate, more about the guy that intrigued you on just like his overall persona.
That was the whole thing.
Wow.
It was like a very humble guy that I could relate to that was like, looked no different than any other person that I would see on the street, but yet had a wad of hundreds and 20s and 5s and never had to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever that guy does, I need to figure out what that game is because I can do that. If he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. So what was your first taste?
So the first taste was bought my first house with Rhode Island Housing, 100% financing. And I'll never forget, went to the closing. We used a realtor. I think we called them off of Zillow or Realtor.com. I didn't know anything back then. And at the closing, I looked to see what the lady made. And I was like, hold the phone. Hold on. What that guy did was great. But what this woman just did to make that amount of money, this is amazing. How do I do this? And we started talking. And at the time, she was with Remax. And Remax at the time charged like $200 a month. I didn't have $200 a month. So I couldn't get my license because it was $500 to get your license and then $200 a month to join. So I'm like, I can't do that. 6 months later, they switched to Keller Williams, which was like $30 a month. I could do $30 a month. So then I went and got my license and then started from there. But
and to understand that they switched, did you just keep on tabs or how did you know that
she checked in with me all the time because after I bought that first house, she knew I was interested and she would get a trailer if I came over. So if I went to wherever she was going to get a piece of what I did.
What was the first house?
It was in Pawtucket on Benefit Street.
Was it like single family?
Single family.
Okay.
Single family piece of junk. We paid $185. It was just a piece of garbage. But at that time, it was 06, 07.
Yep.
And the market was bananas.
Sure.
So for $185, like, it was crazy.
Sure.
4 years later, I could have got it for 85. But that's just how I owned that house up until like probably 3-4 years ago. I sold it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so you get the first house and, it went down to $30. So you were like, okay, I can work with $30. Give me your first experiences dealing with like being an agent. Like, just tell me about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I read this book, Keller Williams. What the heck was the guy's name? The guy who's Gary Keller.
Okay.
He wrote a book called The Red Book. And the Red Book is like the book for real estate agents. It basically takes you from beginning to end and everything you should do to actually get business. And I followed it. And I followed the book to a T. And I did everything they told me to do. And the first year I did 7 transactions. And then I figured out that you can actually spend money on advertising that gives you what's called leads.
Sure.
And those leads come in. And then if you convert those, you get to keep all the money. So I took my money from the first year, I invested it into some of the second year, and I started doing more transactions. So I doubled the first 5 years. I was like 7, 14, 28, whatever, 50, whatever, and then did like 90 something, and then really took off from there.
Yeah.
But it just was a feeling of, it was everything I wanted. Unlimited potential, helping people, working with people, and doing something different every day. I was like, this is a goal. This is exactly what I've always wanted is right here. Yeah. And if I don't capitalize on this, I'm a moron because this is what I've asked for the last 10 years from 21 to 31. Like, you need to take advantage of this.
Yeah. What was, I guess, like in those few years, like the first kind of 3 years, what was the biggest check that you made off of one transaction, if you remember?
So I'll give you a better story, not even the biggest check. So I sold probably year 5. I sold the building on Way Bassett that has the cheese place, that had the cheese place on the first floor and had another commercial and had offices above it. And it was like 1 point something million.
Wow.
And I never did anything over back then when the market was shit, probably over like 250,000. So the check was going to be like 30 grand. I'm new, 5 years in. I'm still a little younger. The other agent is a complete fucking jerk. He decides he's not going to pay me. We get to the closing. He won't pay. He said, no, I'm not going to pay him. This is a commercial deal. I don't have to pay him anything. Now, I didn't know any better. I figured like any other deal, the realtor split the commission. Nah, I'm not paying him. So we go to the closing. Mind you, we have a signed agreement that he's paying me 2%. Yeah, I don't feel like it. So this asshole, right, who if I ever see, I can't stand them, made me get a lawyer, and just to get my 30 or 40K, I had to spend 20. But it was a heck of a lesson, and also showed me like what happened if you get to that next stage and how much more you got to pay attention. So that 35, 40K check for me was like, it meant everything to me at the time because I didn't have money like that. And this guy was just treating me like a little kid.
So a few things come to mind with that, right? So the first thing is like, was he not worried about his reputation? Like, even though you were
70-something years old, he didn't care.
Okay.
So we went to arbitration. Like, I fought it. We went to mediation. We couldn't agree. I almost fought him in the mediation. I was ready to rip his head off. And then we went to arbitration. We go to arbitration, and the panel, now he's like 70-something years old. Another 70-year-old, a 60-year-old. It was so rigged. And I still got paid, but I had to pay for a lawyer, and they knew that. So they were just trying to play me. I was like the up-and-coming guy, and they were like, oh, let's just make them spend money to get money. And I didn't quit. I did it. I spent the money, but I spent it to get my own money back.
And what's interesting, I don't know if there's a lesson learned in that if you did have documentation saying what should have been done, right?
I think the lesson I learned is that anything can happen.
Yeah.
And the biggest lesson that actually, till this day and till I die, you never quit if you feel like you did the right thing.
Yeah.
I could have easily caved and been like, he's, whatever. Let him have it. He's the OG. I'll just go get the next deal. Absolutely not. I'm right. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything unethical. I deserve to get paid. Yeah. I will not quit. Because then you go out there and you start getting bullied and everybody knows, oh, you can just push this guy around.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not doing it. Not quitting.
Yeah. Now there's you're in a few headlines, and I'll start with some really great headlines. So you're known as, AKA the #1 realtor in Rhode Island, right? And we talked previously, but just so the fans and the supporters know, because your number one could be different from a different number one, right? Like your number one is based on actual deals that you've had a hand in, whether it be on the buyer side or the sales side. Is that correct?
So number one was in 2019, I was number one in the whole country in transaction sides. And what that means is I represented, as a single person, the most transactions in a single year that year, 575.
So with that being said, I just want to cut you off real quick. Say if you have, like, obviously you have the Seyboth team. Say if somebody on the Seyboth team does a deal, does that count as part of that? Okay.
It's me. Like, you're my client, that's one. So let's say you buy a house and you're the buyer and I represent you as the buyer. That's one transaction side. Say one of my agents sells a house, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count for you. Okay.
But say you buy a 20 unit, okay? That's still one transaction side. It's not 20, it's one.
Yeah.
So I did the most as an individual that year. Since 2019, I've been top 10 every year in the country for that same stat.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that I made the most money, because if you look at like California, they're gonna do less deals and have
New York, all that,
New York. But I've done over $1 billion in sales.
Wow.
By myself.
That's crazy.
Yeah, not many. I don't know anyone else who's done that.
Yeah.
Not even, like, very few even like people in the whole country have ever done that.
Yeah.
That's just longevity and again.
That's so interesting, because I know that you're in Mass. I know that, potentially you dabble into Connecticut. I gave you a congrats because I saw you doing something in New York recently.
Yep. We got
but one person would be like, "Damn, there's that much real estate transactions happening in Rhode Island. Like, that seems like a lot for such a small place."
I'm gonna boggle your mind right now.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know, what percentage of all sales in Rhode Island do I make up? All the Rhode Island sales in one given year, what percentage?
Now, you or the Seyboth team?
Me, not the team, just me.
I would say probably on the conservative side, maybe like 1/7, something like that.
So that's in the percentage. That's like what? That's a little more than 10%. That's like,
it's more than 10%. Yeah.
Okay, 1%.
You do 1%?
1%. 1%. So I make up of all the transactions in the state of Rhode Island around 1%.
Yeah, how is that possible?
Because think about it. If there's 40,000 transactions in the whole state in a given year and I do 400, it's 1%. So on my best year, I think I made up 1.5%.
Wow.
So I get a lot of realtors that say this. Man, how can we compete with our broker? I would never want to go to your brokerage because I don't want to compete with the broker. And I'm the broker.
Sure.
Right? So I'm the broker owner. And my statement is, unfortunately, you've been miseducated in this business for so long that after I give you this stat, not only are you going to change your mind, but you're going to want to come here so I can give you the inspiration to do so much more and open your mind. Because I only take up 1% of the old. And if you're worried about my 1% and not the other 99%, you're probably in the wrong business.
Correct.
So I look at it as a big positive for our brokerage that I'm out there doing the same thing our agents are doing it at a super high level, and being relatable to them and helping them all every step of the way.
That is a crazy stat.
Right?
And it almost like, for all the people that are like, damn, like real estate's slow right now, or there's no deals or whatever, it's kind of like, well, these stats would show otherwise.
There's plenty of deals. There's plenty out there. The key is, if you have momentum, you keep it. The key is you stay focused, you stay in your lane, and there's plenty of transactions.
Yeah.
Now, a newer agent's going to have a harder time because they don't have the relationships, but you can build relationships. There's plenty of people out there.
Yeah.
Just talk to people.
Yeah.
Get in front of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think, especially after or during COVID, when real estate became like a hot spot. I know there's been periodically moments of it being a hot spot, but especially during like the COVID years and things of that nature, whenever people get into something for just the money, I feel like they fade out quick, because the money doesn't come until your skill level is at a certain length, right? But what they don't really understand is your skill level can only be at a certain length if you actually give a F about it.
You need passion, bro.
Yeah, you got to give it.
If you're in this for the money and you're just doing it for that, you're going to fade out.
Yeah.
You're going to burn out.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't burnt out. It's bigger than that for me. This is a stepping stone. This is a learning curve. This is bigger than that.
Yeah.
Like this is getting to a point where I can hopefully on a national level help real estate agents build their business, be a national coach, be a national trainer, be someone that people look up to and say, that could be me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like this is bigger than just going out there selling houses for Aunt and Mimi.
Yeah, yeah. And with extension in any kind of lane here comes headlines, right?
Absolutely.
And you were in quite the headline, I want to say probably like 5 months back, I would say.
It was October, so 7 months ago.
7 months ago? He knows the exact day and time.
10/31/24.
Yeah.
I wrote it down every day.
And I can talk about it, but I'd rather you kind of explain what happened.
Yeah, so I'm an investor, I'm a realtor. We buy stuff all the time. I was presented a deal off market. I said, I'll take it. The person was losing the property. I said, not a problem. I can take the property. Not only can I help make the sale happen. Now, I never walked it. I never met the folks. I said, not only can I help make the sale happen, but I can also let them live there for a year for free. They can stay in the house for a year for free. A year down the road, if one of their family members wants to buy it, they can buy it before I put it on the market. I'll give you a discounted price, and we'll move forward. Thinking nothing of it. Signed a purchase and sales. They signed a purchase and sales. They said, hey, could you give my daughter the ability to buy this for $275 down the road in a year? But we need to stay here. We have nowhere to go. Please don't kick us out. Fine. It's fine with me. I don't need to kick you out. It's cool. I'm not in a rush. Fast forward a year later, they can't get the loan. So now I'm like, you can't stay here forever. Like, I gave you a year to get a loan.
Yep.
It's 24. We did this in 23. I got to sell the house. However, I'm not a jerk. I'll let you live here. I'll rewrite a 2-year lease. I'll pay it for the new buyer. So you're protected for 2 years to live in the first and second floor. And the only person that would have to leave is the third floor. So for 2 years, I'll prepay the buyer. So you have nowhere to go. So you can live another 2 years for free. Are we cool? No problem, no problem. We put the house on the market. We put it pending for it's a piece of crap. It's not a nice house.
And now let me just stop you right there. Like, from everything that you just said, it does sound like, oh my God, yes, all these things are so good. But then there's also a question of why? Like why do all, it seems like you hyperextended yourself to make sure that they were good. And it sounds amazing, but in theory, it's like, is somebody really doing that,
I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal. Getting people out can be tough. And one of the big things were we'll sell you the house, but we need to stay. Okay. If that's part of the deal and you need to stay for a year, fine. I don't care. It's fine with me. So we went forward, and then we do home inspections. We do everything through the process. The deal falls apart 4 times because the inspection's such a mess. The house is a mess. So I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to have to put it back on the market. Then all shit went crazy. There was a daughter that I didn't know about that got involved. They sold the house. They didn't give her, I can't say too much because we're still going through it. She didn't get what she thought. She called the AG 5 times. They didn't take it. They took it on the 6th or whatever. So here we are. And then they filed what they filed. And there's a lot more on my end that I can't get into yet until this gets moves on. But when the real story comes out, people will be like, damn.
Because face value, it sounded like,
I bought it one day and sold it the next, is the way the story came out.
And also, potentially they didn't know what they were signing. And, they were signing for a loan of some sort, but it wasn't the right way of their house, things of that nature.
The closing was 100-page documents. Every page said seller. They signed a purchase and sales as the seller, and then the daughter signed as the buyer. What are you talking about? I signed as the buyer first and signed the same day as the seller to the daughter. So a year later, we postponed the date so that she could get it, so I could protect her. So you knew you didn't own it. You spoke perfect English. There was no confusion.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a couple of interesting things and that I kind of took away from it, right? So the first thing was, people, it felt like, I'm not going to say for sure it was this, but it felt like people were like, this is the moment that we get to kick his back in.
No question.
Right? Like,
people loved it.
Like, people, like, this
it was
like,
the greatest day for some people in our business. And I've still, and I know, and I read every comment. I know who said what. I know what was said. I know who thought what. And I was like, you know what? This just shows me how much people in general are more negative and want people to not do well than to see people succeed. And it's honestly sickening and sad, because until you actually knew the story, to jump to a conclusion like that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
The story, first of all, read insane. The way the story was written made no sense.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like I bought it one day and sold it the next day. Totally not true.
Yeah.
So there were so many fallacies in the story, but the fact that people thought they had, like, we're onto them. I said from day one, I didn't do anything, and I still know I didn't do anything, and there's nothing to be onto.
Yeah, what's interesting is usually when people are successful in a certain field, and especially if you're in that field and you're not doing well, you're kind of like, okay, there has to be a reason. Like, there has to be
100%.
some sort of cheat code. So, like, with those headlines, it was like, oh, so he's been doing this the whole time, and that's how he does. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I
so
think,
I'm gonna stop you for a minute, because
there
was a great part in there's two great things I want people to understand.
Sure.
Read. If you read the first article that was posted, in the second paragraph, it states, this is the same guy who's developing 128 Wayland Ave in Providence, which is a Wayland Ave bakery, which I bought, which I'm putting 25 units there as long as everything goes as planned. What did that have to do with anything at all? And why was that brought up? And how did this get to a civil complaint that had no criminal ramifications? So how was that leaked in a way where the East Side was targeted in the second paragraph, which had nothing to do with anything, right? So for me, that was the first funny thing. And the second thing that I thought was really funny was he's done this hundreds of times. If I bamboozled someone hundreds of times, ethnicity, if I bamboozled a certain ethnicity hundreds of times, I would be dead. Someone would kill me along the way.
What was the merit of putting that, of hundreds of times? Like,
Don't know. It was a headline. It wouldn't be anything if it was like, oh, this guy bought an off-market deal and they closed, and the people are now saying they didn't know.
I just feel like you gotta be pretty scummy to write that kind of things without any, like, real
It's
proof.
not right, dude. It's wrong what they did.
Yeah.
You said hundreds of times. I remember it till the day I die. He's done this hundreds of times.
Yeah.
If anyone did that hundreds of times, you'd be dead.
100%. Yeah.
You'd be dead. If I did that to any ethnicity, any racial group, I would be dead.
Right.
And the majority of my clients are all over the map. Black, white, Spanish. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I've always done that.
Yeah.
So, like, your whole claim of any sort of race stuff is even crazier to me. It's just wild.
Yeah. What's good in a way, or at least a silver lining about this kind of time period, though, is you also got to see who really had your back, and potentially the individuals that went through something kind of like that and was like, oh, this is part of it. And I made a content piece the other day when it comes to, like, potential setbacks and things of that nature. It's like, what if this was just part of the process? You just said, oh, I'm about to go on the Brad Lee podcast and I got these big things and I'm in the best shape of my... What if that was what if that was a test? Let's see if he's really who he says he is.
It was.
Boom.
It was 100% a test.
Yeah.
And honestly, two options. You fold and you say, this isn't for me.
Yes.
Or you say, all right, I got this. I hear you and I'm going to change. And if I don't change right now, shame on me. But I whoever's sending this to me, I got it.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
As strong as I am, there were times when this first came out when I was like, I don't know.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this.
Sure.
But then I was like 2-3 days later, I'm like, nah, it's not happening. You're not getting me. I'm going out when I want to go out.
Yeah.
Not on something like this. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it really made you dig. These type of situations make you dig really, really deep because it was so public. And I'm like, this is something where you got to really man up right now, and you got to figure out what are you made of.
And you know, poor headlines travel way faster than positive ones. So like, you know, you've been number 1 and top 10 in the country for X amount of years, but your face plastered on this like real estate scam and stuff like that gets way more publicity.
Exactly.
And I was waiting for this podcast to tell you this in person. So I'm not going to say who the gentleman is, but there's a gentleman who I know that works for you. And we were talking, and he was like, yeah, he's like, you know, some people, this is when the kind of like the news first broke, and, you know, people were kind of hesitant, like, oh, should I stay? Should I go? And things of that nature. And this was very, very early on, right? And I don't even think I had, I might have had like a couple of conversations with you, and that was it. But I was like, listen, I was like, whether it's true or not true, I said, that's not that based off of that isn't the reason why you should stay or leave. I was like, whether it's true or not true, what do you think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to take this and bow out, or do you think this is going to turn him into a monster that no one's seen before? I was like, because if you ride this out, I'm pretty sure he's keeping account of who's still there when the dust settles. And I was like, you know, I'm not in your field or nothing, but I would rather be the guy that sticks by someone who I know is gonna, like, you know, win, lose, draw, whatever, is gonna end up a better person on the other side.
No question, dude. I saw everything. I saw everybody's true colors. I saw who was with me, who wasn't, and I took notes.
Yeah,
and I still have them.
Yeah,
and I'll never forget them.
I love,
and it's all good.
Can I just say, I love the fact that like you write dates down and you write. I love that. Everything. I love that. Yeah.
All good. I know the day. I know it's all good. And you know what? Not only when people turn their backs, I wish them luck. Best of luck to you. I hope everything is well. I hope you do really well. But I remember. Yeah. And I will not forget. And it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
I want to say one of if I can be selfish for a minute, man, one of the best things that happened with all this is me getting to know you and me being able to talk to you and me being able to like kind of like see where your mindset's at, and me really, you know, when it comes to like high earners and when it comes to like people just on a mission, I make it my mission right now to somewhat, even if it's just a little bit, attach myself to them, because like there's so many people out here not doing anything. Right. And so the more people that are like at least doing something, and especially at a high level, like I want to be associated with.
And I think at the end of the day, when you're around people, there's two types of people like that though. There's high level people that will help you, and there's high level people that will try to hold you down. And I've always believed, like, I'm no better than anybody else. Like, anybody that wants help, I think you've ever texted me for anything, like, I get right back to you. Yeah. I mean, you had a deal you were working on, and you asked me questions. I'm like, yeah, I'll help you any way I can. Yeah. Like, I've always been like that. So I'm never going to be a person who's, like, try to hold somebody down. Like, life is not binary. Yeah. I don't need you to lose for me to win. Right. We both can win. Right.
And I want to say, by the time this podcast ends, I would have won big time, and you know, I'm selling a house and he's buying a house, so I'm very appreciative of that. Now switching gears a little bit, up to today, let's have some fun here. What has been your single biggest check?
Oof. It was today. 100 racks. It was today. What? My biggest commission was today ever. 100 grand.
Really?
I swear. It's funny you said that. It's today.
Get out of here.
It was today. The second biggest one was a month ago, 76. This was the biggest one, 100 grand.
I gotta applause that. Jesus Christ, I gotta applause that. And was that like a building, or what was that?
It was 3 buildings in East Greenwich.
East Greenwich, man.
Flat fee, 100,000. And then
were you part of the seller or the buyer?
The whole thing. And then last month I did 22 units in Warwick, and it was 77. So I had two good ones in 2 months, which it doesn't happen very often, but those are the two best.
Well, I think again it's like poetry, because I think you going through what you've been through, and then now you're having the best months ever. I don't think that's by accident.
No, I don't. But I would say, I'm going to be really clear with this. The hits that I took initially were not only unacceptable, they were something that no one should have to deal with. So this wasn't done by act. This was me getting up every morning at 4:30, organizing my business and my life, and really refocusing. So there was a lot that was taken from me from this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important that people understand. Like, there was a lot of monetary things that were taken away.
Yeah.
I had a grant for $1.5 million on a project I was doing in Central Falls, and the day after this article hit, not only did they take it away, but they lied about the reason why, and it was sickening.
Damn.
Then I had 6 other loans I talked about on another podcast that was supposed to close 2 weeks after all this hit, and they took all the loans back. So I had to scramble, and I'm a person of my word. So when I tell you I'm going to buy something, I'm going to buy it. So I went from getting 100% financing with my private lender to having to put down 20% on 6 loans at the same time.
So your private lender, okay, that's interesting.
They pulled the plug.
But like they pulled the plug not
without even asking a question. Never even asked. And then after they found out like what was really going on, they were like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, nah, sorry, it's too late. Too late for sorry."
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Didn't even ask. Just went right off of the thing. I mean, I lost a lot, dude.
Yeah, no, it sounds like
lost.
it sounds like it.
And what was done to me from, I can't get into it, but there will be offense played, not just defense. I played defense for 9 months now, or whatever many months. Offense will come at some point.
That's exactly how I'm feeling.
Offense. It's time for playing offense.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. That's funny.
You were just talking about it. And now you got me like fired up when I was sitting over there like, don't worry about it. And now I'm back to like, offense. It's time to play offense.
No. At some point, it's one of those things where you kind of said before, like if I know I'm being a good guy, honest guy, and I'm doing my best, if someone's trying to F with me or screw me over, it's like now whatever happens, I don't feel bad about, honestly.
But nobody's perfect, right? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We don't do all the right things, make all the right decisions. But at the end of the day, what's right is right. Yeah. And when something's wrong, that's not okay.
Yeah. Do you have, at this point, you probably don't, but do you have any rituals, any like things that you like doing after a big like deal goes down, or is it just another day?
Just another day. But I think that is, I'm sure you follow Kobe or did follow Kobe, right? I mean, I'm a big Mamba mentality person. Like, I believe in all that stuff. It's just, you got to keep doing the same thing tomorrow. You cannot.
So is there anything, like, is it like a piece of cake, dude? Like, is there anything that you're going to do today differently than?
Not a damn thing. Not a damp thing.
I think, and I also think that's special though. So what I am hyper focused on recently is also like, the relationship with money and what you're actually putting out to the universe, right? And so if let's say, because I know our deal is actually going to go down this Wednesday, if on Thursday I'm buying a bunch of BS, that's telling the universe I wasn't ready to have that money, right? Now, if I spend it on like investments and things to make my life better, or something for my wife, or, like something with utility to it, that's a little bit different. And that allows the universe to say, okay, he did right with that. Okay, we don't mind giving him some more.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge, because my first 7 years in the business, I would say until this year, so the first 11 years, or how many years that was, I was careless with money. I was spending it on things. I was doing different things. I was charging a lot of stuff. This year, I'm on point. I haven't been this on point ever. Meaning, like, I'm paying attention to every dollar that goes in, every dollar that goes out. I'm making sure that I put enough. Like, I am on point. Yeah. And it was a hell of a lesson to learn. But thankfully, it happened at this level of my career and not further down the road, so that it wasn't way bigger numbers, right? It happened at a point where I could change and pivot and still be okay. Whereas if I was still down that path, the position I'm in right now is probably the best I've ever been in.
That's great news, man.
And it's the best because of myself, not because of, what I went through just really made me refocus.
Yeah. Yeah. What has been your worst purchase to date?
Property-wise, I would say, it's going to be a property, even though you probably didn't want that answer, but I bought a house in Watch Hill in Westerly, just it wasn't to date, but it wasn't this year, but it was terrible. I bought a house in Naples, terrible.
Florida?
Yep. So those two were just tough.
I thought Naples was like a hot spot.
Yeah, you got to know it. I didn't know it, and I trusted this guy, and he made me buy this house. He didn't make me do anything. I bought this house a few years ago, and it's been a nightmare. So I would say I don't buy stuff, though. Like, I don't really buy stuff. I value my home space. I value making sure that's really nice and comfortable, but I don't buy a lot of stuff. I got to be honest, I do want to get a car at some point, a nice car, like a nice car.
What car do you have right now?
I drive an Acura MDX, like an SUV. But I want to get that's my work thing.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Yeah.
But I want to get like a nice one at some point.
Why haven't you got one yet? That's interesting. Even for like a tax write-off, I would.
I think, to your point, the universe hasn't made me like. I don't think I've been ready for it. I honestly don't think I'm ready. I wasn't ready for it. I think I'm finally ready for that. I'm in a position where it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's not to like, I don't need to drive it to show off. That's not my thing. Just to have something nice.
Yeah.
To have like a nice vehicle that like the 2-seater, my girl and I can go down to wherever and do our thing.
And I go back and forth with people about like being humble and stuff like that. But think about this. If that person that was friends with your father never pulled out that wad of cash, you might not be in real estate today.
I would not be in it.
So
I might not. I would not.
So you having a G-Wagon or something like that, and someone saying, "Yo, like, how'd you?"
True.
And you say that could be that wad of cash for somebody else.
No, it's a good call. It's 100% true. And that's a great example because I would not be in real estate.
Yeah,
I wasn't in my family. Like I didn't know anything about it. I owned one house. My parents owned one house. We didn't own multis. Like I didn't know private lending meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
So to your point, that inspiration, I mean, that could work for someone. And if that's the case, then when the universe says I'm ready, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Wrapping things up, by early next year, I know you don't have a crystal ball, where do you expect interest rates to be early next year?
5.5.
Oof, nice.
5.5, 6.5. Yeah, 5.5, 6. Well, I think there's a lot of turmoil in the economy right now, and I don't think it's a nice thing. Mm-hmm. I think that interest rates, if you follow how economic flow moves, right, as rates go up, that means that the economy is doing well. But as rates go down, that means we're trying to make the economy go faster and speed up. And we're trying to really spur business investment and also business lending. So I think when you look at it, hopefully the 5.5 to 6 is not a function of us being in any sort of recession or any sort of economic downturn. But I do think we've got a little bit of pain ahead of us with, some sort of politics.
So I have a question. When it comes to, because we are officially, and I've called it for quite some time now. And by the way, I love your Monday breakdowns. By the way, I'm one of the people I listen to it every time you post it. But we are truly in a buyer's market right now. When it's a buyer's market, what happens when there's stuff going on like what's going on in Iran and potential world war things going on? Like, does that make people clutch their pearls and not want to move and not want to buy anything, even though it's a buyer's market? Or do people take advantage of it being a buyer's market? So
we haven't seen them take advantage of it yet. We will. We're in the first inning of 9, in my opinion. So we're not technically in the total buyer's market in Rhode Island. We are on the U.S. If we looked at the U.S. from a broad stroke, we are. But in Rhode Island, we're still somewhat tilted towards sellers. Once we go towards buyers and any of this other stuff kind of goes away, right? Some of the Iran and all that stuff kind of goes away. You'll see buyers start to really enter the market again because at that point rates will hopefully be lower and I think there'll be more supply and that's when you'll see it really start. So I think we're in the very early innings of a buyer's market. And I love helping buyers. So to me, like I'm excited about that. Sellers can be greedy. Buyers are appreciative. Yeah. Like buyers are like, oh my God, I just want to buy a house. I had a kid today. He was like, you are the absolute best. Like I am so grateful and thankful because he was working with 2 other realtors. He's like, I'm so grateful and thankful that we found you. You have been phenomenal. You never pushed me into a house. You never told me I had to do this. You never pressured me into go and look at stuff. You just went with the flow and you gave me your opinion. And I said, that's how I've always done it. And like buyers to me, that's fulfilling. Yeah. Whereas a seller's like, I want this. I'm going to take this number. Like it is what it is. It's black and white. So I'm excited about that. It's kind of getting. We haven't been in a buyer's market since probably 2018.
Yeah.
7 years.
So early next year, you're saying 5.5. You think it will continue to drop, or it will stay there for the remainder of 2026?
I think you will see it stabilize in the 5s. I think a healthy interest rate for us is 5. I think a healthy interest rate.
Do the house prices decrease with that?
No, so inverse. So when rates go down, prices typically go up.
Yep.
But I think what you're going to see happen is a non-traditional, non-inverse relationship where supply outpaces the inverse relationship.
So they both go down.
Correct.
I'll be there.
That's what I think. I don't think they're going to go down dramatically, but I think they're going to, I think your multis are going to stabilize. Probably a 3 in Providence stabilizes at 600, not 7. A 2 in Providence stabilizes at 550, not 650. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, that's where I see things. And the median price of a single family, I think, is like 512 right now. I think you'll probably be closer to like 450. So I think there's a normalized, healthy range. We're still a little out. We're a little bit on the outside of that, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
And I'll be there.
I'll be there too, man. I'll be there too. Last word. When it's all said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
That's a good question. Someone that gave it their all. That's it. That went out every day and did the best. That's it.
Kyle Seyboth, thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate this. I will continue to text you periodically. I'm looking forward to what's to come. I'll be tapped into that Brad Lee interview. I'm a Brad Lee fan, pumped, so I'm very pumped for that. And I hope nothing but the best for you, man.
Appreciate
nothing
you,
but
man.
the best.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and hopefully this helps somebody out there listening and watching.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all stay smooth out there.